Welcome back to Loan Officer Success Live, and this is the Coach's Corner powered by Premier Lending. Your host, mortgage leader and business builder, Devin Dubuque, and the coach with the winning playbook, Rick Koenig. Together, they're bringing you real strategies, no fluff insights, and the exact steps to grow your mortgage business. Buckle up because this is Loan Officer Success Live. We're back, baby. We are back. We're back, Coach. It's been a minute.
We are back, baby.
We are back.
That's funny.
What's up, Coach? How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. We did take a few days off, didn't we?
Well, I think you took a vacation. We did some traveling, but a lot of it was scaling and level up. I got a chance to go out to the Ford coaching program with Neil Dingra and sit in some room with some powerhouses, just amazing people talking about amazing thing, power of connection. And then we had our strategy, our leadership strategy, right? Which was just awesome, man. Being in that room, it was pretty great to sit down and talk about where we're going and what we're going to do.
Yeah, it is. I mean, talking about where you're going, what you're doing, planning for next year. But also we were working on, making things better. And I think that's what kind of brought today's topic up.
Yeah, making things better. And, I want to get really clear on this because we want to have, we want to let you guys leave with some actionable ideas and things that maybe you can do to get better. Because one of the things that we talk about is how do we build great relationships? How do we get in front of the right people? How do we fill a room and have a database, that loves us? And, a lot of times we talk about outreach, we talk about going into offices, we talk about presentations, and all that stuff has to happen. Those are the basics. It's got to be done. If you go back and listen to some of our previous podcasts, you're going to hear all about that. And we will definitely talk about it more in the future. And if you ever want to schedule a strategy call with Coach or myself, feel free to jump on our calendars. We're pretty easy to find. And I'll run some info, but you're on our channels, you're going to find us, right? And you can get on the calendar. We're happy to share with you those secrets. But one of the key things we want to talk about today is none of that matters if, Coach, what's the if? What's the if? Why does it doesn't matter if we don't do what? Well,
in blunt terms, do your daggone job. And that means put together a great file, One of the things we talked about at the leadership meeting last week was communication. I think it was number one on our board was communication. Amen. And it didn't matter whether it was communicating a situation, communicating somebody's deal, what you're trying to explain to the processor and the underwriter. But they ended up, number one was communication. So when you're originating your file and everything about it, nobody else does if it's in your head, and it doesn't do any good if it's in your head. So taking notes, documenting things so that the processor can see exactly what you see, just because you know it, or maybe you've known somebody a long time doesn't mean you're passing it on to the next person that has to understand it too. And I've seen more deals turn into nothing but problems when all it would have taken was 2 extra minutes to communicate what was going on in the file and what was in your head.
Yeah. Well, I think all those are great points, but I think it goes even deeper than that. And what I mean by that is I think there has to be a process behind it. And that process has to be a repeatable process with the strategy that your agent partners, the ones that you're working so hard to develop, understand what you do and how you do it. And even more so, and I think this is the deeper dive, is the consumer knows what to expect when they're working with you and why. And it's not a day goes by, right? And I wish that I didn't have to say this, but not a day goes by that I don't hear about, somebody who put together a file that was loosely put together. The client didn't have right expectations, and they ultimately lose the deal because they don't have a process in place on how to communicate with that client and explain to that client why the things are necessary. It's like, well, I don't want to bog them down with too many things. Well, no, you want to set them up for success, and you want to set them up for a pattern that they understand why you're asking for what you're asking for, what it's going to accomplish, and how it's going to make that transaction smoother and simpler. And I think so many people say, well, I don't want to get pushback from them by asking for too much. No. You want to set the precedence that you are the expert and that your job is to provide them a clear plan that's going to get them to their dream, which is home ownership, efficiently and effectively, so that they don't have struggles or have difficulties. On a call we talked about earlier this week, there was a question that was asked and I loved it. And it was, what do you expect to get from this transaction? Right. And, I think another way you can even throw in there is, have you had any experiences when you've done these transactions in the past that we want to avoid? What were those? Right. Because there may be a whole idea from the person on the other side, the client, who is the person that really matters here, as to what it looks like to work with a great mortgage lender. And it may be wrong. They may think that they're all, pardon my French, shit shows. And we're lucky to paste this thing together to get it to the closing table. And there's always a lot of documentation. It's too much. It's too difficult. And there's really no explanation. There's no communication. And that may just be their perception because the last person they work with, that's what they saw. And if you take the time to identify and say, this is how we're going to work together. First off, we're going to ask great questions. We want to know what your why is. Why are you buying this house? What is so important about it for you? And more importantly, what's important for your future? Like, what are you looking to do here? Is this your forever home? Is this your short-term home? What's that going to look like? And then from there, we're going to tailor make a product that's going to work great for your strategy. It's going to put you in your best position. I'm going to tell you how that's going to work. Right. And then we're going to talk about what docs we need, why we need those docs, why it's important to get those documents up front and not down the road, so that ultimately, once they pick the house and get the contract, we're already ready to go. There is no, now we got to prep the file and submit it. We've already prepped the file. They've got a confident offer that they can walk out into the field and say, I'm pre-approved and I've got a lender that I know is going to back it. And they've told me every step of the way what's going to happen once we lock in a contract, from contract to close.
I heard a great thing in our coaching this week where I was getting coached by our friend Jamie Miller. And Jamie explained it this way, Devin. I really kind of like this. A lot of times these people think that we're going to put them through the ringer. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's going to be a pain in the butt, just like you said. And he said, hey, tell them about Jerry Maguire. And I'm like, what, Jerry Maguire? What? Show me the money? No. Help me help you.
Amen.
And what he said was, if you can make them see why coordinating and helping you, right at the beginning, if you can make them see that that's going to make the whole process go easier, smoother, and have less flare-ups or whatever you want to call it in the middle and at the end, that they're going to be much more willing to help you. So, think about that at the beginning when you're going through everything. You've talked to them, you've built the expectations, you got them dream building. Remember, help me to help you. And here's how you're going to be able to help me make this a really smooth process for you. So if you can get it through by, saying, hey, I'm going to be Jerry Maguire. Okay. You got me? Yeah. Here's what we're going to do to work together. I need you to help me to help you. And they'll be like, what? And then you can just explain it to them,
Yeah. Well, I think, going into that, help me help you. Right. And that's important. And at the same time, let me help you by providing clear instructions so you know exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're going to get you there. Right. So, the first part of any communication should be super positive. Hey, coach, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to meet you. I was talking to your agent. She told me what you guys are trying to do. This is so exciting. I don't care if it's a new home, meaning their first home, or if they've bought multiple homes in the past. It's exciting. They're buying a house. Let's get them pumped up and excited about having the conversation with you. Hey, by the way, I got to tell you, great choice in picking agents. She is awesome, or he is awesome. We have a great partnership, and man, we're going to make this experience fantastic for you. We want you to get from start to finish as smooth and as flawless as possible. We want you to love that experience. And why do we want to do that, guys? We want to do that because it's not just that it's the biggest purchase that most people make. It's their home. This is the place that they're going to live. It's the place they're going to break bread and have, their greatest moments of their life in. Let's start that off with a bang, and let's tell them that that's what we're going to do. We're going to start you off with a bang. So I'm excited to learn about what you guys are looking to accomplish, to make sure that we look at your financial goals so that we can move you forward into the future, right? And let's get you pre-qualified so you can get out there and start looking for that dream home. This is super excited, okay?
Yep.
And that's it. And then once you identified that, tell them why you need the things. Hey, we are going to do this. We're going to get you pre-qualified. But for the true pre-approval, I'm going to ask you for a series of documents that are necessary. And at the end of the reason I'm doing this now is because you're going to need them regardless. If you're buying a house, these are things that are going to need to be there. And we want to check everything off the list to make sure that there's nothing that's going to get us in the way once you get that contract. I want you to be able to walk out there and have the confidence that when you put in an offer, you're putting in an offer that's going to stick, that the sellers and the agents can say, this is going to go from here to there, no problems. And you can buy with confidence knowing that you have me in your corner to get you there. So here's what it's going to look like. I'm going to give you this list of documents. When you send me that list of documents, there may be some things that I see on those documents that lead me to ask for additional questions. That's not because I'm trying to ask you for a lot. It's because when I see it, I want to make sure that we address it. That way, by the time that it gets to the underwriter's desk, we've already got it drawn out. We've already got it figured out. And again, you can buy with confidence, right? And when you start to talk to your consumers this way, and educate your consumers this way as to why you're doing it. It's not because I don't trust that this is who you are. This is what it's because I want to make sure there's nothing that's going to stop us from getting you to your end goal, which is a smooth process to closing. And this is why we're asking for these documents. Not because my processor gets mad at me because I don't submit a clean file. It's not because my pre-approval specialist asked me to do it. It's not because my underwriter expected it, because I live up to a level of service that I'm going to provide to my consumers and my agents that's going to leave them with confidence 100% of the time. That's why we do it.
And that's everything you did, the stuff that you said from start to finish is all part of the process. If you have a process and you are prepared to always do the same thing every time you talk to a client, it helps with a bunch of things. One is you're never going to skip a step of what needs to happen next. You're never going to miss the step of having them being prepared. You're not going to miss the step of explaining what you need to explain. If you do it the same way, every time you talk to that client, you are prepared to make this a much smoother experience. Because how many times have you heard a client say, oh, well, you never told me that. And you've said that same sentence in order to every client that you ever talked to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you remember at the beginning, we talked about this and we said we're going to need this. And by the time it got to the underwriter, we might need to redocument it because it has to all be within 30 days. It can't be 90 days old if it takes us 60 days to buy a house, blah, blah, blah. We are preparing them by following that model. And when you're trying to build the model that you want to build that works for you, talk to the most successful people out there, or call one of the coaches like us that, can walk you through making sure that you do this same model every time you try to do it.
It's called sweat in the process, right? Same way every time. We're going to put sweat into the process. And again, it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. The way that I communicate is going to be the same every time because that's the way we do it. Now, they have different situations or different scenarios, but the way that you set them up for success is to follow a specific process. And some people go, well, I got a team. That's my team's job. That's great. Guess what? Set the precedence. Okay. If you haven't already developed that, you haven't shown them what that system looks like, what that flow looks like, what that process looks like, you have to be the first person that does it first, because this is your vision. It's the way that you do business. And then you have to instill that into every member of your team so that you follow that exact same process. I was talking to a great friend of mine a couple of weeks back. It was actually a podcast that I did. And this particular individual started with me back in 2003, Coach. That's how long I've been doing this thing. 2002 for me, but he started with me in 2003. And he had changed markets entirely. And I've heard this often. That's why I want to say this. He changed markets entirely. He went from Dallas, Texas, out to Seattle, Washington, and eventually landed in California. Okay. And Silicon Valley. And so he gets out there and he was afraid. He's like, man, I've always heard that California is just consumed with so many lenders and I don't know how many to get my foot in the door. But man, I'm going to try. Right. And so he gets into the market. And one of the first things that he does on the first deal he works on is he calls the listing agent. Again, we talk about this all the time.
Yep.
And this is the conversation that he has with the listing agent. Hey, my name is fill in the blank. And, basically, I'm going to be working with you on this transaction. I just want to ask you a question. If I do a great job, stay in communication with you, get your client to the closing table on time and leave you with no questions, when we get done with this transaction, would you be open to having a coffee appointment with me so we could talk about doing future business together? That was what he said. Now, his strategy was, I'm going to put together files that are airtight and build them in a way that other people don't so that I can gain the trust of the people that I'm working with. Okay. And what he found was he got out there and most of the originators he was up against, not all, we know there's some great ones out there, were not providing that level of service. Now, when he trained under me, he trained under a level that made him understand I have to cross T's, dot I's, make sure that all the boxes are checked so that my clients are qualified. And as a result of that, when I'm doing this service, I'm going to be able to gain the trust of these agents and they're going to want to continue to refer back to me because I have a process that's referable. Okay. And that's what we're talking about today is creating a referable process. I had another loan originator I talked to recently down in South Florida closing, I think it's 300 transactions this year. Wow. Right. Anybody here want to close 300 transactions?
Yeah.
Right. And it was the same thing. Right. What she said was, I came into these offices and I promised a level of service. And that's what I became known for, is somebody that could provide a level of service that other people couldn't provide. And as a result of that, I grew a name. And eventually people just had that trust within my name because they know, in fact, she goes by the mortgage magician.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So she created a persona. This is who I am. I'm the mortgage magician. And she lived by that. Right. And here she is today doing a massive amount of production. And why is that happening? It's not just because she does the outreach, because she does. Right. It's not just because she goes out and does presentations and gets in front of people, because she does. Okay. It's not because she's providing value by giving ideas and providing opportunities for the agents that she works with. It's because the agents know when a file goes to her team now, because she has a team now, right? It wasn't always a team. She has a team now, that it's going to close. And if there is a problem, they're going to hear about it most likely before the contract ever comes in, because she's doing such a thorough job of putting together a great application, analyzing the details, and making sure that that client is going to close. And now she is a referable partner. Yep. We get it wrong so often, Coach. We want to go out, we want to put the cart before the horse. We want to make the call and tell people that they need to do business with us, but then our process sucks.
Yeah. I remember in the old days, we used to show up at the closing just to make sure nothing blew up or went wrong. If you're doing your job right, if you are showing up at the closing, it's to shake hands and backslap and get a couple referrals out of the deal because you've done such a good job.
Yeah. Photo op, right? Do something fun with your clients, that's what it should be. It should be a high five and a handshake and a celebration because we got there exactly the way we promised them, because we did such a great job up front and throughout the process to make it a referable process. And that's what we're talking about, guys, is that we can talk to you about how to get in front of people all day long. We can give you clear instructions. They're going to show you how to go out and create the relationships, get in front of the right people, and start to build relationships with referring partners. But if you don't have a clear process on how you're going to handle that business once it comes in, and you're not making sure that you're putting together airtight files with T's crossed, I's dotted, and providing these clients with clear-cut instructions on how that process is going to look from point A to point B to get them into their home, it's not going to work. Because agents sniff out BS, Coach.
My suggestion is, if you're, I was just mentioning to you, we're down to, I think Monday is 65 days left in the year, and I remember when we were talking about, did you reach your first quarter goals? I would make for my fourth quarter goal and planning for next year to actually map out my process 100%, to go over it with my processor. If
Yeah.
you have an assistant, to go over it with your assistant, to map out everybody's jobs. If you've never listed everybody's jobs and you have a complete list of who's doing what, and you can provide something like that, when you're talking to that person up front, hey, I've got a team, I'm going to send you a sheet, it tells you what everybody does. If you need just to talk to one person, you can always call me, but I'm going to tell you what, my processor Christina is the one you want to talk to,
Amen.
because she's the captain of the ship from here out. I get you to this point, and then she captains this boat all the way to closing. And you can call me anytime, but I'm telling you, she's the one to talk to. You. It's just like when you built that realtor up at the beginning. Oh my gosh, you're doing business with Devin. What a great guy. If I was buying a house in that area, it's the same guy I'd call.
You're in great hands.
That's all part of a process. And
Mm.
if you don't have that handoff to the team, learn how to do that handoff. Make everything exemplary. I don't know. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I believe
Is that a Midwest? And just be a model that these people think, my God, the first time I did this, it wasn't nothing like this.
This was not the experience that I had, and
Yep.
I'm going to go back and say this because I know we're at wrap up time, Coach. You mentioned something that really triggered me. So Faris Faraj, our one of our CEOs and owners here at Premier Lending, he talked about something he has in his playbook, and I like this, and I want to steal this, and I think that you guys should too. So I'm gonna put that out there. And is when he does his consultation and he gets done, he calls it a strategy call, and I think strategy call is so smart because again, that's part of his process. We're gonna call it a strategy call. He basically says, "Hey, could you do me a big favor? Could you grade me, on, the performance that we had here today? Would you say that this was a good performance, good presentation, and he gets him to grade him. And again, I'm going to butcher some of this because this is his process, not mine, but he gets him to grade him. He's like, hey, could you do me a huge favor? Would you reach out to the agent next time you talk and just let them know, the experience that you have when working with me and how how this consultation went or how the strategy call went. And the reason that he does that is because then he follows up with the agent and he says, hey, could you do me a favor? Could you reach out to the clients and ask them how the strategy call went? I just want to make sure that I did a good job. Now, he already knows that he did a great job and he already knows how they're going to grade him. But what he's done is he's connected the two together. And this is so brilliant because now what's going to happen is the next time these two talk, how was the call with fill in the blank? In this case, it's Faris. Oh, he was amazing. I've never had somebody walk me through the process so clearly and give me a plan that I can walk away with that makes me feel like we're vested in each other's success. Right?
Maybe we need to talk about that next time too. How to do the actual call to give them that plan. You and I both know what Faris does. They're utilizing Mortgage Coach and showing them the different things and his way of doing business. And he's not always doing business with first-time home buyers anymore, like some of our people are. He's got a clientele that expects another level. He talks to them like a financial advisor would talk to their people. Yeah. In fact, he's asking them about their financial advisor. He's learning who it is. He's even calling their financial advisor to let them know what they're doing in case the financial advisor has any questions about stuff. And what's he doing there? Developing another referral source.
So funny, right? And again, guys, think about all the stuff that we're talking about here. When your client has that type of an experience, when your agent that you work with, your referral partner has that type of an experience with you, are you referable? Are you referable? No question about it. So, we talk about the basics. These are the basics. And I think people forget it all the time. And sometimes they go, well, that's what my processor does. Well, guess what? Your processor's only as good as you set them up to be. Now, if you've already built the team that does all this stuff for you, you are ahead of the curve. Void everything we just said because you're probably just shaking your head going, yes, 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 yes. This is exactly how it works, right? But if you don't have that process, you have to be the person that sets the precedence. You have to be the person that steps up and says, this is what we're going to do. And then as you develop your team, you instruct your team to provide that same service at that same level. And this is how you create a massive database of people that are beating down your doors to give you the business because they know when you touch it, you've got that Midas touch. It turns to gold.
And having that Midas touch, maybe what we need to talk about next week is doing your own planning for next year, but how to use that planning to go back out to all your referral partners to help them plan on doing business with you next year. We can talk about a lot of things that you can do and take back out to your partners next week, because if you're not already looking at, we're going into the end of the year, man, oh man, Monday, 65 days left in the year. I mean, that's crazy to think about. The only reason I know that is today was number 297, and I happened to watch that number, and it's like, my gosh, when we were talking about, planning for 25's done.
Yeah.
Everything you've done to today is what's going to end up closing through the end of December.
So there it is, guys. Strategy plan for 2026, how to build yours, and then how to set down and build it with your referral partners just to strengthen that relationship and show them that you are vested in their success. Well, guys, this is wrap time. So thank you guys for coming back as always. And Coach, I think this is going to do it, brother.
I think it is too. I think it was a good one, and we'll be even ready for next year and or next week, so that everybody's ready for next year, because we're rolling fast to 2026, brother.
Prep time, baby. Let's go. You've been watching Loan Officer Success Live, where real strategies meet real success. Don't forget to subscribe now and share it with your teammates, and keep leveling up, because your next breakthrough starts here. If this fired you up, don't just watch success, go out there and build it.